So you want to be a freelance writer and you need it to work. You need it to work fast. Listen, I get it. I've been there. I've literally been in thousands and thousands of dollars of debt and realized that if I was going to make this whole thing work, it had to be as fast as I could possibly make it work. So I'm here to tell you the 5 things you've got to do to make freelance writing successful and lucrative as quickly as possible. And I'm telling you, these are the 5 most important things. Everything else needs to be put to the side. We're going to talk about that as we go through each of these, because that's one of the number one mistakes I see newbie freelancers make, is that they get distracted by all the different shiny objects, all the bells and whistles that they think they need to make a successful freelance writing business. By the way, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter, copywriting mentor, and I freaking love helping freelance writers. I love showing you what's possible in today's world because freelance writers are needed at an all-time high. There's an incredible amount of opportunity, and it really is the opposite of what most of us have been really raised to believe, which is, that starving artist image of the writer. And so I'm here to push back on that because I know it's not true. So let's dig in. First things first, you've got to invest in your skill set. If you're going to be a freelance writer, you got to invest in being a better writer more quickly. And I want to give you a few ways that you can do that. Yes, it can be books, it can be online courses, but I actually don't necessarily mean a financial investment. If you're not going to invest in yourself financially to kind of find a fast track or a path that's going to take you where you want to go more quickly, then you're going to have to invest time. So committing to your practice, showing up, making daily moves is one of the best things you can do. I'm a big believer that if you commit 30 minutes a day to your craft, you will be so much better in such a short amount of time because of the power of the compounding effect. So when I say invest in yourself, I mean invest in your skill set. Invest in making your skill set really good, because at the end of the day, that is going to be one of the most important things that's going to make or break whether or not you get this business up and running really quickly. Another way you can invest in yourself is by hiring a high quality copy editor. There is nothing better than getting direct feedback on your writing. So this investment can be minimal. Maybe you invest in a few books, but then you hire a really, really qualified copy editor to go through your work and give you as much feedback as possible so you can integrate it into your next practice pieces. And what I just touched on is actually an important thing to kind of tease out here. The most important thing you can do with this investment around your skill set is actually practice. It doesn't help if you just read the books, if you take in all the information, but you're not actually writing. At the end of the day, you've got to be writing, because the more you write and the more you get feedback on that writing, the better you're going to get more quickly. That's a fact. Number 2 is to build your portfolio right away. And remember, your portfolio is a living, breathing thing, meaning it's going to change over time. So the first portfolio you create is definitely not going to be your favorite. It's not going to be the thing that you're the most proud of, and it's going to change. But that's okay. Make sure you are taking imperfect action. So build that portfolio. That portfolio can be practice pieces. They can be something that you sat down and you wrote and you got feedback on. But you got to make sure that it's truly copy. One of the biggest mistakes I see newbie freelancers make is that they sit down and they write, but it ends up being more of like a journal piece. It's not what copywriting is about. So make sure, again, going back to number 1, that you're actually studying the craft and that you are actually writing copy and you're actually getting feedback from somebody who is trained in copy. And interestingly enough, this number 2 is actually reinforcing number 1. Right? Because it's you taking the time to really invest in your skill set, which is one of the most important things that's going to set you up for success. In fact, it's going to be your skill set, and it's going to be making sure that you're presenting yourself as a business owner. That's the other thing that's super, super important here, because there are a lot of great writers out there that aren't getting paid well, that are being treated like an employee, that are being walked all over, that don't have good boundaries, and that ultimately have a business that's running them rather than them running their business, right? Which brings me to my next point. You got to look professional. This is very important. Sure, you can send your portfolio pieces in a Google Doc. I've seen many freelancers do this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't set you apart, and it's definitely not going to help you get those higher end clients, which is really important to making this whole business thing work. So investing in a few quality business tools is going to take you so far. So that's number 3. Only buy essential business tools to help you look and be more professional. I recommend these 3 things: an invoicing system, a website, and getting your LLC. So easy. And honestly, it is such a minor investment to build a business. We live in an incredible time where the access to creating an online business is at an all-time low. You don't need a ton of capital. You don't need a brick and mortar location. You don't need inventory. So take advantage of it. But this is the thing I see newbies struggling with, is they think, oh, if I build a website, that's going to take away from my income, or I don't want to spend money on an invoicing. I'll just send them my personal PayPal link. But the problem with that is that you are not setting yourself up as a professional, as a business owner, as somebody who is highly qualified to take on very good clients. These simple things will set you apart from so many freelancers. So just do it. It's an investment in your business. And again, it's such a minimal investment to get started. My recommendations are Squarespace. It's about $20 a month to have a website on Squarespace. And then FreshBooks. I really like FreshBooks. It's clean, it's simple. And again, I'm pretty sure it's under $20 a month. Don't hold me to the pricing because pricing changes, but those are still my recommendations. And again, at the end of the day, such a minor investment to get started. And then your LLC, this is something that intimidates people, but it's really not that scary. You just have to go to your Secretary of State website and follow the instructions to start an LLC. It's very, very simple. And I just want to add, side note, be careful. There are a lot of things out there when you say start an LLC, Secretary of State website, the ads at the top are usually businesses that are trying to get you to pay them to kind of walk you through this process, and they kind of make it seem intimidating and complicated, but really it's not that complicated. Just do it on the Secretary of State website. Anyway, those are the first tools that you need to kind of get started as a freelance writer. So keep it simple. Focus on the skills, focus on the bare minimum to look professional, and you then later on can add other stuff. So this is really important. What am I leaving out here? I'm leaving out branding, logos, business cards, and a social media presence. These things, believe it or not, are not essential to setting up and starting a lucrative freelance writing business. Can you have them? Yes. Are they important right when you get started? No. Usually people get distracted by those things because they have it in their mind that a logo is what makes them legit. It's not. I always like to remind people to focus on the thing that moves the needle forward. And again, it's looking professional, presenting yourself as the business owner that you are and that you're learning to embody, and more importantly, actually cultivating your skill set and getting better at what you do, i.e. copywriting. This next one is a little bit of a twofer. So take on opportunities that come your way, but don't sell yourself short. So what I mean by that is take on projects that maybe aren't quite right. Maybe it's not in the niche you want to write in. I mean, heck, I am in the health and wellness space, and my first few projects were literally anything I could get. Writing product descriptions for dog beds. I've told the story before about writing about the Ferrari. Yeah, cute, clever. And those things were not what I was ultimately trying to do, but it was okay. It paid the bills. But notice how I said it paid the bills. Never work for free. Please, please, please don't work for free. One, that is not the reason you're here. You're here because you want to make a successful, lucrative freelance writing business, and you just shouldn't work for free. I'm so sick of internships and things where people are working for free. It's just debasing the value of their work, and it's very frustrating to me. And you don't have to work for free. Can you work at a discounted rate because you're a newbie and you're not the most experienced copywriter? Yeah, and you probably should, but don't work for free. Not to mention, when you work for free, the people will inherently think less of your work. I promise you, this is actually a psychological thing that happens. So when you work for free, people are less likely to see the value in what it is you're creating. So make sure that you're just not doing this right out the gate, because the other problem with this is it is so deflating and discouraging. And I've seen so many newbie freelance copywriters get so discouraged because they entered into a situation, sometimes even with a friend or a family member, where they ultimately were working for free. That person didn't value their time, their energy, their effort, the work that they did, and they felt super taken advantage of. And honestly, they put themselves in that situation. So don't do it, please. I'm begging you. I can't tell you the number of times I've given that piece of advice. Somebody's worked for free and then they've come back and said, I wish I listened to you. So please just this is the one thing. If you're going to listen to anything, listen to that one. So go through open doors, work in all sorts of opportunities, but very, very quickly tighten up, cultivate your expertise or your niche so that you can really move forward and make this a lucrative business. And this brings me kind of to my next point, which is don't wait for clients to come to you. Start telling people what you're doing, even in your network. Tell people that you're starting to study copywriting, that you'd love an opportunity to practice for their business, charge a lower rate in exchange for a testimonial, but get that practice. There's nothing better than getting practice when there's some skin in the game, right? So when it's actually for a client, even if that client's your friend and there's some money exchanged, it gives you all of that, gives you the practice that you need to kind of grow into what is ultimately going to be the structure of your business. And you can't wait for clients to come to you when you're starting out. That's why I'm such a big proponent for outreach. You've got to be doing client outreach. Some of my favorite types of client outreach are cold emailing, getting involved in Facebook groups in a niche that you'd like to write in, being really helpful in there, creating a name for yourself and then, offering your services in a very tactful way. I also really love LinkedIn, reaching out there. So if you're watching this video, it's because you know that you got to take action to make things happen. So don't sit around and wait for clients to come to you. Start knocking on doors, and I'm telling you, eventually you won't have to do that. And it's going to happen a lot more quickly than you think. But you got to do it at the beginning, especially if you want this to work really, really fast. So hang in there. I know it can be daunting. I know it can be scary. But if you keep things simple and you focus on just the essentials to move the needle forward, and the primary one being getting better at your skill set, you are going to be light years ahead of many freelancers. And ultimately, you're going to look back in a year and think, holy cow, I've come so far. You got this. All right, guys, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you liked it. Tell me in the comments what you'd like to see. I love hearing from you. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys.